9 minutes past 7, Tuesday, November 20th. So I didn't do a video yesterday because it was all rush. It was cold, but we we had a lot of trouble with that flip axle. I asked the guys at CAT, I said, can you do it? Because I don't have the D-ring on the back yet. And actually that's the reason for today's trip is I'm going to KID trailer. Why is it? What? It's already sunrise? Google said sunrise was at 7:26. Now the tablet is already showing its sunrise. You see, like it automatically switches to daylight, and it's very bright. And so yeah, so the guy, like, they don't care, right? Like I asked him, right, if it's too hard, you tell me, because the D-rings on that flip axle are on the top of the frame in the middle, like closer to the rear, right? So you can pick it up, but then when you flip it, I was thinking about this, like what's gonna happen to the strap? It's gonna probably scratch the heck out of the axle. And I asked the guy, I said, can you guys do it? Like, is it gonna be too hard? Or because I don't have the D-ring in the very back like I used to. Oh, the guy just shrugs, yeah, we can do it. So it takes us like, I don't know, half an hour. And of course he put some scratches on it, and then they kind of like laughing at me. Some other guys, heavy haulers, standing there just looking at it as a show, because at first they try to flip it with a forklift, and the guy says, well, your tires don't spin. I'm like, how I can do it? I said, well, they used to spin, I don't know what happened. They used to spin when they were disconnected, right? If you guys remember, I was mentioning this because on my previous trail on the 55 ton, if you disconnect the hoses and the flip axle is up, it was not spinning, it was locked. And I was told that's how it should be, right? But on this trailer, when I picked it up, the wheels were spinning. Like if I touch them, I can rotate them. And then of course I discovered I had issues with the brakes over there, right? That were fixed. So anyway, this guy with the forklift could not do it, so the other guy says, okay, I'll go get the machine. Now imagine all this trouble, right? But I asked him, I said, can you do it or not? Right? And of course they don't have to do it, just they try to be helpful, but I hate it when I don't want to take, they're busy, I don't want to take too much of their time and look like an idiot, right? Anyway, so the guy grabs an excavator and he comes, because I was parked right at the end at the dock. He cannot come from the rear, but of course it would be much easier if I just drove a little bit forward and he came directly from behind, because he was doing it from the side, like 90-degree angle to the trailer. And imagine his boom when he turns, right, it cannot go in a, like if he picks up the flip axle, it cannot go in a straight line, right? Because when he turns, he kind of like draws a circle, right? I don't know, like I just tough with these flip axles. But I wouldn't want to install, I wouldn't want to install that hydraulic, because my plan for this axle is to use them as in a spreader configuration. if I have a motor like that, that means that they're fixed. You can only use them as a quad. And here in US and Canada, okay, in Canada it's okay. You get 78,000 pounds on the quad in Ontario. And I have the annual permit to prove it. But as soon as you go into US, you hardly get over 70,000 pounds, right? Like Maryland, my favorite example, 72,000 pounds on the quad. That's it. So if you want more, you do 3+1, like spreader plus single axle. You still want more, you do 2+2. Then they give you like 46 per tandem. But without the spreader, it's not very useful. No, it's still useful. In 72,000, it's still better than 60, right? For a Trident, but that axle weighs 3,000 pounds. So actually, all you're gaining, like, so you got extra 12,000 pounds, right? But because the axle weighs, look at this guy. But because the axle weighs 3,000, so actually what you gained is only 9,000 pounds, and you paid roughly 16,000 US for that axle. So you paid 16,000 US just to gain 9,000 pounds. And that's why a Jeep, it's kind of like a better investment, because even though it's the same money, well, I'm just being very careful. I saw the brake lights, you know, it's a very bad weather today. And actually, that's why we are filming, hoping to see some action on the highway. Maybe some firefighters, some emergency crews, you know. -1 Celsius. What is it, like 30 F? Very nasty. But when I came to pick up my car yesterday, I parked the truck. I probably had like half a foot of snow on top of the car. But anyway, yeah, a Jeep, right? A Jeep, 22,000 bucks, all funds US. But then you need a flip box, you need a long neck extension. That's easily another 10, but I can probably get it for 8 here locally. So let's say 8 US plus 22, 30,000 US. A lot of money, but you get 20,000 pounds for the Jeep minus the weight. Let's say 5,000 pounds and minus I'm guessing 1,000 pounds for the flip axle, because they're very heavy. So you get 20,000 minus 6, you get 14 instead of 9, which does not sound like much, but it's still something, right? But the goal of this little one-man enterprise is to get a single axle Jeep and a 2+2 spreader, and then I can get somewhere close to 115,000 pounds on the deck, ladies and gentlemen, on the deck. Which of course begs the question, is that really what I want to be doing? Because this last trip cost me, this excavator cost me $2,400 in permits. 2,400 US funds. I'm not sure why I decided to go through Mississippi, but that's what I did. And now I remember with this previous company where I worked, when I had a similar load, like somewhere from there, from let's say Louisiana, Texas, they would send me through Louisiana, and I stayed on I-10, I-12, I think it was I-12, right, till Mobile, Mobile, Alabama, and then I go north on I-65. So you still go through Mississippi, but you only go at the bottom. So I don't know how much how much money that would have saved, but Mississippi charged me $550, I think, US, because I went 130 miles, because I went north on I-57 instead of going east. Anyway, so I was not a very happy camper when they sent me the bill. And what I'm trying to say is that as multi-axle guys know, permits only get more expensive once you start adding Jeeps and spreaders, you know. But hopefully I can get, of course, that's why you cannot do that for a cheap load, you know, like might as well stick to 80,000-90,000 pound loads. But if the load pays good money, then, you know, I want to keep that Jeep on the ice, you know, in the parking lot, and the spreader, and then just use them when I see a good opportunity, like good financial opportunity, because of course it's a lot of work as well, you know. You have to hire somebody to hook them up, load them on top of the trailer. So basically you need a forklift or a small crane, I don't know. But that's in the future. At least with this trailer I have that possibility, right? Whereas before with the 55 ton I could not add a Jeep. Well, I could, and actually, yeah, some people I saw when by mistake I enabled the comments, some people were saying, what the heck, why did he upgrade to 60 ton? Because yeah, if I do the same, if I keep the same amount of axles, it's not gonna give me anything more in terms of a payload. It's actually giving me less, because this trailer is 6,000 pounds heavier. But with the Fontaine I was able to get a Jeep, but it's not the right Jeep. It's a Jeep for a regular tandem truck, you know, like a 3-axle truck, because it's too close. It's too close to the last drive axle. So yeah, if like I have a truck like this, right, just total of 3 axles, tandem in the back, yeah, then I can get a Jeep from Fontaine, but I want to be able to use my pusher axle, so I can get to 9 axles, right? So my pusher is down, that's 4, plus a Jeep with a long neck, where you need to have at least 8 feet between the drive axle, the last drive axle on the Jeep, and that gives me 5 in the front and 4 in the back. Like, where are you going? Imagine this guy, like, yeah, there's brake lights up ahead. This guy is just changing lanes to see if he can gain 5 seconds. So come on, where's the accident? What am I filming for? Well, this is Canada, okay? So people know a little bit how to drive in winter. Like if this was Alabama, you know Alabama? Yeah, it's just somewhere over there near the ocean. But in Alabama, yeah, when I went to Florida, right, in my car, and this kind of weather happened, people were helpless. They didn't have the skills or, you know, experience of dealing with this kind of weather. There was lots of accidents. But these guys over here, most of them, when the season changes, they all switch tires. They all have winter tires. I'm not gonna do on my Mustang. I'm not gonna do that on my Mustang because I just like the challenge and I don't drive it that much anyway. But you see the freeway, yeah, so on the local road I went to get coffee and the wheels there was not enough traction, because the local roads were not plowed very well, but freeway is always clean, more or less. And so if I was driving here in my Mustang, that wouldn't be an issue. And I'm only using all season tires, all, not winter, not summer, but all season. I don't know, they work very well. You just have to be careful, you know, keep your head on your shoulders. And so yeah, so it's gonna be busy, basically house chores for me next couple of days, like I mentioned before in the previous video. So this is basically part one. We're doing the Ontario inspection for the trailer, kind of like finalizing the purchase, right? Because everything else is done. I just need these stickers on the neck, and I want D-rings in the back so it's easy to flip the axle. And then I'm driving over to Port Hope to Lodestar parent plant to meet with the engineer who will take measurements of the neck so that they can build me a 36-inch flip box. Now this flip box, it's not the one I need for a Jeep. It's the one I need to properly distribute the weight, because right now 101-inch swing radius I have right now, it's useless. With a 77,000 pound Cat 336 I just brought from Texas, my front axle was at 13,200 pounds, and I could probably move the fifth wheel maybe a couple of inches forward, but still, like, without this flip box I cannot take advantage of my massive front axle. And so the plan is to get a 36-inch flip box with probably dual kingpin, maybe one at 114, like total swing radius, 114 or 120, and then the other one at 136. Because honestly I don't know why I need 36, but that's what Fontaine has, 36 and 83. And I talked to this guy from Lansdowne who does heavy haul, and he says, oh, I wouldn't buy a 60-ton without at least 36 flip box, like 136 neck total. So for now I don't see the necessity, but it's best to have it and not use it, right, than to need it and not have it. Oh boy, but it looks beautiful, right? That's Canada for you. But normally until Christmas it's pretty warm. Like you see now, it's -1, 30 F. It's pretty mild weather. I know people are now dying in Florida, running up bills for electricity, for air conditioning, excessive use. But over here it's fun. Kids love this kind of weather. Alright, so this is Highway 6. So I just left the super fast Freeway 401, and we're taking Highway 6 southeast towards the lake. And I don't like, of course, that 403, or I have to take 403, and it's all red, which means stopped traffic. By the way, I'm running on 6 axles. tried to chain lift the last axle on the trailer, put some timbers on it, you know, drained the suspension, did all that stuff, and of course there's axle foils on the top, so that's 3,000 pounds. And drove off the timber, reinflated the suspension with the chains in place. That last axle is still on the ground. So and that's why I want to add instead of one D-ring, I want to add two, and I want to try flipping both axles, right? And then I will have tandem at the bottom and two axles on the top. But like just those, you know, I don't like those pins at the top. They don't look very strong. Like at the bottom pins are massive, but the top ones are just regular, the same what I had on my 55 ton. And I don't know how they will like this, you know, 6,000 pounds. That's the weight of two flip axles. And plus the radius is gonna be, you know, to swing them, you really need like an excavator with the, you know, lots of reach. This thing is rerouting me because it saw some bad, it found a better route, but I'm not going in local roads because then I can get stuck with this trailer. It's best to stick, you know, to the road, you know, right? This town is called Pazlinch. A couple of times I delivered something over here. There's like a big dealer that he buys and sells used equipment. I think once I picked up a very old excavator somewhere at an auction in, I think it was Pennsylvania, and brought down here. Very big place over there. I'm thinking about some questions that people were asking me recently via email. And one gentleman in the States, he wants to buy a used truck and do heavy haul. And he sent me a couple of listings on truck paper. And I just wanted to mention briefly what I think a good truck will be, right? First of all, it depends, of course, what kind of trailer you want to get, how heavy you want to go. But let's say you just want to get like a 55 ton, you know. Well, ideally, especially in US, you want to get a 4-axle truck, right? Like a basically run as 7 axles. If you're into that kind of thing, because of course you can just get like a 35 or 40 ton extendable and do long and wide and tall loads instead of doing heavy. But in my experience, both types of loads, you know, long and wide on the one hand and heavy on the other hand, they can pay good money. But you know, if you're long, you need escorts, right? If you have an extendable trailer, that's, you know, $1.50 per mile easy if you have one escort US. But if you just want to start, like 7 axles would be a good place to start. But as for the truck, like I think my previous truck, the Mack, was a good spec for a starter heavy haul truck, right? It didn't have a double frame, but it had a tall frame. It was much taller than on my previous International, but the front axle at least was 14.6. Not ideal, but you definitely don't want 12,000 pounds on the front, you know. So the Mac had 14.6 on the front and 46 tandem, right, and 20,000 pusher with 4 tires. And those are much cheaper than what I have now. I have now steerable super singles. But just to start, you know, 4-axle traditional pusher axle would be okay. But it just I was tired, you know. It gets tiring, you know, fast when you have to lift and put down that pusher all the time, and of course you're overloading the truck, you know. And I remember the front, when I go around, let's say I'm turning at the light with that Mac, right, and I have, I don't know, 85,000 pounds, and then you lift that pusher. Now imagine all that weight goes on the front, and everything was making noises, like, you know, like the truck was falling apart. And that's why, especially for a traditional pusher where you have to lift it, I think a strong front end is important. And then when I was debating whether to get the dual frame on this Kenworth, a guy I talked to, he says, what kind of axle are you getting in the front? I said 20,000 pounds. And he says, well, definitely, if you're getting 20,000 on the front and you plan to load it, like, you know, 18, 19, 20,000 pounds, you need a double frame. He says, otherwise it's the truck will start twisting and stuff like that. So basically, that's what the advice I got, that you need a double frame when you're planning to run heavy front axle. And maybe 20,000, I know lots of people don't like 20,000 pounds because the tire is so big, but I have no issues with steering on this truck. But maybe if you get like 16,000, you don't need a double frame. But probably that, and actually that's what I wanted to get when I was buying the Mac. I was talking to 50 people about this, and some people say, oh, you're crazy, if you want 20,000, just get 16 maybe. And that's what I was looking for, actually. When I was speccing that Mac, I remember I wanted 16,000 on the front, 20,000 pusher, 46 drives, and my wheelbase was 244, but only because I'm in Canada, and over here they kind of like frown at long wheelbases, you know. But now I don't care. Now this truck is 254 inches and it's still short, because a lot of places they want you to have 15 feet 15 feet between the steer axle and the pusher. Otherwise they will not give you 60,000 pounds on the pusher and drive. So those are just two considerations that come to mind, you know. The front axle at least 16,000 pounds and at least 15 feet. So ideally you want like 265 wheelbase if you have if it's a truck with a sleeper, right? And as far as the engine is concerned, I can honestly say that 13 liter on the Mac was adequate, you know. Like, naturally you're not gonna win any races going uphill, but for a 7-axle configuration, 7-axle, let's say where you're hauling up to 90,000 pounds, that's 13 liter with 1850 or 1860 torque minimum. Must have 1860 torque. I think it was 1850 on the Mac. And I got it with 3:9:1 ratio. It did not work, so I switched it to 4:10. So when you get a you can get a small engine, just get a slower, like high numeric number axle ratio, you know, like 410, I don't know, 426 if you live in a mountain area like, you know, California. I remember a guy sent me a message. He was saying he was using the same Mac like mine with a small engine, but he had 426 axle ratio, and he was pulling like double trailers, I don't know, like a whole bunch of weight. So that's what I would say, like, don't be afraid of small engines, just make sure that you have a slow reaxle ratio, 410, 426. Of course, then you're not going to be able to drive 70 miles an hour because your RPM will be too high, right? But you don't want to do that with a heavy load anyway, because the further you go away from 55, 57 miles per hour, the more you start burning diesel, you know, like really bad. And that Mac, compared to this truck, was much more frugal when it comes to fuel. Sometimes I miss that. You know, this one, of course, is much worse fuel mileage, but it's a much better truck, much more comfortable. That one had a small sleeper, but that's what I mean. So don't be afraid of the engine. At least 16,000 on the front, at least 15 feet between the steer axle and the pusher, 46 over there, and don't buy a sleeper less than 60 inches. Like mine was 56. It was a nightmare. There was no room, but the truck did look cool, right? Because it had a flat top, but just I had no room to put stuff anywhere. Like here, it's like a one-room apartment. After that truck, this Kenworth with a 76-inch sleeper feels like a studio apartment. This is the last big intersection before the freeway, before 403, but that's it. The GPS says it's gonna take me 48 minutes to do the remaining 31 kilometers, which is like 20 miles. And this is Highway 5. Like, this is still 6, working on south on 6, and this is Highway 5. Paris is that way, Burlington is this way, but it's not Paris, France, it's Paris, Ontario. Maybe there is one person that speaks French over there, but probably that's it. Wow, this is definitely not the kind of weather I was expecting, you know, coming from Texas. And this is a very big hill. See that truck, the tanker truck on the other side, just driving 5 miles per hour? It's because it's very steep. And the only reason these guys in the left lane are going so fast is because they're empty. Yeah, you see, like this guy, some kind of a garbage truck with 4 axles in the back. Oh wow, yeah, it's gonna be an exciting ride. So good thing we're filming. And by the way, filming in English means to record. Does not mean to use a film for recording. It's a general term. So filming, in this case, we're doing digital filming. Yeah, 403, the sign up ahead says 403, 1 kilometer, half a mile. And you see that's what we have here. 4-axle flatbeds, 4-axle agricultural trailers. Oh, and one funny thing happened yesterday, I forgot to mention. When these guys are, you know, having this trouble with the flip axle, and it's, yeah, actually I was having trouble. I was running around trying one chain, 2 chains. Then the guy says, oh, get the shackle. He says there's a shackle behind the building. I go there, it's like the shackle the size of a house, you know, like this size. Probably weighed like 40 pounds, you know. So I'm dragging that shackle and I try to lift it, you know, to do the pin. You know, it's like these things are so heavy. You need to hold the bottom of the shackle with 2 hands, and then I don't know why I only have two hands. So when I'm holding the shackle, I have no limbs left to deal with the pin because it's so heavy. And these guys, 2 guys were sitting there. One guy just delivered the machine and he's standing there chatting with another cat guy, and this guy in the excavator, they just look at me, you know, kind of like in amusement. Anyway, and then one of these guys say, why don't you get a permit? Why you don't want to pay for a permit? And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean permit? And he says, look at this, and he points to the guy, that other guy that just unloaded. And of course, in Ontario, all guys, pretty much like 90% of lowboy trailers, they all have 4 fixed axles in the back. You know, that's what most people run, because, you know, you get in Ontario with an annual permit, you get 78,000 pounds, right? Like, it can get better than that. You can get 80,000, but that's very rare, right, in US. But in Ontario, you get 78,000 with a quad, and that's why all local guys, they don't, you know, nobody bothers with these spreaders and stingers and boosters, right? And so that's how they buy these trailers. Like, they go to Perrin or Sheltima or JC or J&J Trailer, all these local plants, and they just get 4 axles in a row fixed, and then they make maybe the last 2 airlift. And usually, because they don't care about the weight, they put these super heavy what are they called, load bearing fenders, basically steel over the wheels. So these trailers, they're probably like 35,000 pounds anyway. And so that's what he was pointing. This cat guy says, why you don't get a permit and run like that? Basically, he was saying, why do you need to lift the flip axle? And those guys, most of them, oh well, first of all, they're local, so all their trucks, they don't have a sleeper, right? So they're much shorter than me. Like, I know if I run with 4 axles down, okay, I can do it in Ontario, I'm allowed to, except that I will need to have my signs and flags on, like oversized load. And then it just, you know, it's difficult to go around corners because my truck has a sleeper. So it's not like 230 inches wheelbase, it's 254, which doesn't seem like much, but it does make a difference. So my truck is it's a different animal than all these local guys are using, right? But yeah, that's funny thing about Ontario is that, you know, you don't need a Jeep or a Stinger over here, and that's why I'm running this. But as soon as I go into US, right, because I don't have annual permits in US, if I run with all 4 axles down, I will need to buy a permit. Okay, because I will be like 79.5 feet long, and also my kingpin, my wheelbase, will be out of whack. And I don't want to do that, because that's a lot of money, right? Like, you go through, I don't know, 3-4 states. Well, maybe I'm gonna look into that, because yeah, I'm getting it's a lot of work to flip it, right? And you have to disconnect all the hoses, and on this axle it's very tight. Like axle 3 is okay, but axle 4, Jesus, there's like this much space in there where, you know, once it's down, very difficult to put your hand in there, and the hoses are too short. I cannot connect them when the flip axle is on the top. You have to wait till it's down and then connect these 4 hoses. Anyway, but I might look into that, you know. I might look into that and see how much it'll cost in permits to just, if I stay close, let's say I'm just going to, I don't know, Maryland, you know, that's only 500 miles and it's only 3 states: New York, PA, and Maryland. So it's $100, I'll run like that. But if it's, you know, $300, $400, $500, I'd rather flip it. Yeah, the flip axle's still there. All right, so this is our other big freeway, 403, right? So I was just doing a shortcut, 400, 401, and this is 403. So the lake is over there. There's always bad weather here, snowing or raining all the time, and this part is always very busy, especially now. It's 8 o'clock local time. So I'm 28 kilometers, so what is it, 15 miles? 10 miles is 16, 5 miles is 8, 24, yeah, maybe like 17, 18 miles. It's gonna take me 36 minutes minimum. A tiny truck, Dawes Victoria, I don't know, probably gross weight 1,500 pounds. And she doesn't even know that now she's in my blog. But basically, I'm sitting at a very nicely appointed yard of a KID trailer, right? There's no trailer behind me. They made me drop it. And over there, that's Queen Elizabeth Way, QW, on the other side of the grass. And this is my day. See, I started driving 6:45. Took me 1 hour 45 minutes to get here, and it's only just over 40 miles, 65 kilometers. And I've been sitting here, you see, all that time. Like, you see the blue line, that means off duty, right? And what I did is I switched to personal conveyance. Hold on, we got some kind of a spec. All right, now we better. I used the personal conveyance and I drove that way. There's a big Ford plant right on this side over here. Oh, and by the way, that's I think that bridge over there, that's Royal Windsor Drive. So this kind of like a corner of Royal Windsor Drive in QW, and there's a Ford plant over there. A very busy area, and I drove just bobtail down there, probably like a mile. There's a shopping area, you know. Went to a restaurant, and I didn't eat anything in the morning, so I had 2 eggs, fruit salad, sandwich with salmon, and I'm drinking coffee, and I'm thinking something is missing. Then I look at the nearby table. The guy is downing French toast, and he's like so, you know, eager. I call the server. I say, excuse me, can I have what that guy's having? You know, he says, oh, French toast. I said, yeah. How many you want? I said, how big are they? And she said, well, just the regular size of the bread slice. I said, 2. So, geez, so now I feel like I want to sleep, you know. But anyway, these guys are doing a real serious inspection, you know. And I told them about dry axles in the back. I said, you know, just please make sure everything is greased and loose and properly adjusted, you know, with the brakes and the axles, because so the trailer has not seen any movement in 3 years, right? And they're welding the 2 D-rings on. The only issue with this experience so far, with my day so far, is that I thought I would accomplish at least 2 things, you know, like this, getting the trailer certified, inspected, getting the stickers, and then I thought I would drive to the Lodestar parent plant in Port Hope and let them do the measurements. But time now is 2:17. These guys told me, I said, I'm gonna go for lunch. What time do you want me to be back? And they said, oh, probably 2 o'clock. And so you see, now we're here. That's 403 and QW. Same thing. But I need to go here, past Toronto, and Port Hope is somewhere here, Brighton. Come on. Somewhere. Oh, Coburg, over here. Port Hope. And small town just east of Port Britain. And bigger town would be Clarington over there, Bowmanville. But it's 100 miles. For where I'm sitting here, it's 100 miles, 166 kilometers. And I called them, I said, what time do you guys leave? Because it's gonna take me, if I'm out of here at 2:30, which I highly doubt now, I will need at least 2 hours to get to you because of the traffic, you know, afternoon traffic. And they said, oh, we leave at 4. Okay, so that's not gonna work. I said, what time do you get back to work? They said 7. Okay. And now I have a dilemma, as it often happens with trucking. Do I go east and sit there at like an idiot at a rest area right before the turn to the plant on 401 on the freeway? There's a nice modern rest area, you know, with bathrooms, coffee, free internet inside, you know. But it's 3 o'clock. By the time I leave, it'll be 3, so I'll be driving through all this horrendous traffic going east. People leaving work, going to the suburbs. So from here, it'll take me definitely more than 2 hours. But then I'm right there. In the morning, I can just leave that area, let's say 6:30. I'll be at the plant 6:45. They do the inspection, probably shouldn't take them longer than 15-20 minutes. And then, of course, on the way back, I'm gonna hit some traffic anyway, because even though I can go on the toll 407, 412, 407, it bypasses the super busy 401 in the morning. But still, that one is, I think it's about 200 kilometers, so 120 miles back to Cambridge. So I'm hitting the traffic either way, either now, or if I sleep at that. I don't want to sleep in the truck. That's the thing. Like, I've been in the truck for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, you know. And I booked a hotel in Cambridge. Yesterday was night number 1. Today is supposed to be night number 2. It's costing me 85 bucks Canadian. And so I go there, I sleep in the truck, and then I have, of course, the advantage of going to the plant first thing in the morning. So I think what I'm thinking is that I know these guys I'll probably be lucky to be out of here at 4 o'clock. So, and it's only 40 miles back. But again, I'm gonna hit traffic on the way back to Cambridge. So, but at least this way I can go to hotel to the hotel and have a nice night's rest. And then I was just thinking of getting up at some crazy hour, like 4:15 in the morning, you know, because like I always say, I need 45 minutes. If I get up at 4:15, then 5 o'clock I'll be on the road, and I'm gonna bypass all the traffic jam, and 7 I'll be at the plant because it's 2 hours, and then they do the measurements, and then I hit the traffic on the way back. You cannot win, but at least this way I sleep at the hotel, and they do the measure the neck in the morning, and then the plan is to drop the trailer at the hydraulic shop, and those guys are crazy busy. Oh, you need to give us a couple of days, because I still want to inspect the hydraulics on the trailer, because these guys are not gonna do it. They're just inspecting the safety aspect, you know, like the axles, the brakes, the tires, electric, stuff like that. But hydraulics, I wanna experts, you know, hydraulics experts to look at this trailer, just to make sure there's no water, no rust, and maybe drain the old oil. And maybe I'll have to change my whole oil, maybe change to winter. But anyway, from that I have to go back to Cambridge, because that's where this hydraulic shop is. And then the plan is to leave them the trailer for a couple of days, and then drive over to Kenworth and leave the truck over there in Cambridge. And it'll take them as well, like probably 2-3 days to do the oil change, because everybody's busy, especially at the end of the week. And then I'm gonna grab an Uber and get back to my car, and then I'll have this last night at the hotel, and of course I'm gonna extend it. So but at least the weather's good. See, it's not blue sky with some nice clouds promising snow, but in the future we have 0, oh shoot, 0 Celsius, so that's 32 F. And you see time now is 2:22. The door in the back is still closed. They're still working on my trailer. Well, driving back, so we only finished at about, I don't know, 3:30. Cost me about 250 bucks Canadian. And then I start driving, and something weird is happening. Like I feel jerks, like in the 5th wheel, you know. I stop, I go back inside, talk to them. I say, hey guys, did you by any chance over tighten my brakes or something? And they said, no, we did everything by the book, everything is cool, everything is greased. Yeah, we're not taking 403, so this is 403 I can take, but Miss Google thinks it's 20 minutes slower than going through lights. No, actually, wait, this is QEW. Okay, so we can take 403 down there. But anyway, so yeah, the guy says no, and I look in the mirror, you know, I stop on the shoulder right next to the shop, and I look in the mirror, maybe like the, you know, something's wrong with the brakes, like, but there's definitely, I feel some jerking and some kind of like the truck struggles, like the trailer is pulling me back, you know. And then I just remembered something. I was just exchanging emails with this multi-axle guy from Landstar. He pulls 65 tons and 70 tons trailers, and he was saying that, he says, if you get a custom 36-inch flip box, he says, make sure, or ask him if it's possible to get some kind of a lock on the kingpin, because he says Fontaine trailers have a nasty habit, because that kingpin just sits there You know, he says the kingpins have a nasty habit of popping up when you try to back under them, you know. And somehow that just was stuck in my brain all of a sudden, you know. And I jumped one more time. I looked at the handles. The handles are all, you know, deep in. I grabbed my flashlight, aka smartphone, look at the jaws, everything is cool. And then I look through the side of the trailer. On the gooseneck there's holes, right? You know, those weight loss holes that help them keep the weight down. And there's a hole there, and you can see the kingpin. And I look at the kingpin, it sits like this much higher than normal. Like the top is not flush with that little opening where it's supposed to sit. It's up, you know. And you know, that's why I was afraid to go on the freeway. And a couple of times actually I checked with I was, you know, braking with the handbrake over here, because, you know, just drawing at a slow speed, just, you know, if your fifth wheel is not properly locked, you can feel how it's opening, right? Like you will feel the trailer sliding back. But of course you have to drive very slow. And weird. And so yeah, so I saw that the kingpin was not fully seated. And this guy from Landstar told me that, he says Trail King trailers, they don't have this. They have a lock. And so I don't have time to go to Lodestar today. And I called him, I said I'll be there first thing in the morning. And I'm gonna ask him tomorrow if it's possible to put some kind of a lock on that kingpin, because yeah, this is really dangerous, you know. And so what I had to do was, I could not put it down. Like, I opened the locks and I tried to back under it or open it, but with the trailer sitting in the air, it would not allow me, because you know, it's a pretty heavy trailer. So I had to drop the suspension, drop the trailer on the ground, and then I was able to move like 1 foot forward from under the fifth wheel with an unlocked kingpin. And then I went back, and then I checked visually, and this time the kingpin was properly seated. And that's what, yeah, so very dangerous. Whenever you feel some kind of a jerking motion in the seat of your pants, that either your kingpin is open or your driver's seat is not locked. So either or. But driver's seat, not such a big deal, right? But the kingpin, you know. Anyway, so safety, your safety is our first priority. By the way, where are we going? Oh shoot, I'm supposed to turn left. All right, and now of course I'm in the curb lane here. That's Highway 5 that I passed this morning, that goes towards Paris, Ontario. But yeah, that's it. As soon as the kingpin was seated, I don't feel any more jerking when shifting, because that's when it was jerking, when I was shifting. All right, I think we need this one, right? Quite a lane to turn. Half a mile long. Must be very busy intersection. But yeah, so this is supposed to be faster somehow, according to Google, than going on the freeway. I'm always skeptical about these, you know, when they say, oh, we found a faster route, you can save 3.5 minutes if you go here. And I tried that a couple of times, and then, you know, the situation changes all the time, right? By the time you do all these turns and signals, the freeway always faster, I find, you know, like unless there's like a big humongous accident, right, where like 20 people died and cops are doing an investigation, and all 10 lanes are blocked, then yeah, okay, then I will go around. But if it's a traffic, it's usually not worth it. Oh yeah, and I exchanged emails with Fontaine engineer, and he suggested I still use a shim on the rear axle even when driving empty, because I sent him some pictures and I said I just don't like it when I'm driving and I look in the mirror and I see the rear axle moving up and down. And he says maybe try using a shim, and so now I put in a yellow shim, the smallest one, see what happens. And once I'm home, I'll show you guys what they did. They attached some very nice looking bent lashing rings or D-rings right where I asked them to, like, so now it'll be fast and easy to tie down the flip axle when it's on the trailer, and also to lift it for flipping. All right, time now is 4:24 p.m. and we're still at 0 Celsius or 32 F. And this is Oakville, Ontario. Toronto is that way, North Pole is that way, Florida is this way. All right, I'm back finally in the parking area. So here's what they did. Where's my new sticker? See that? That yellow sticker, that's Ontario. Before I only had this one. Now I have that one. See, valid, so it's done November 18, so it's good until November 19. Don't have to worry, because it's only once a year. And so what they did here, I asked them to remove the ramps, so they took them off. I said keep them, and so they said okay, if you change your mind, we'll have them here. So they undid these 2 bolts and they removed the ramps, so now I have the full 26-inch deck. And they welded these nice bent D-rings on both sides, so now it's easy to flip this thing. And also I was driving, oh you see, and there's another sticker here, annual inspection. That's what took so long, and another over here. So because now I have 3 vehicles, 3 plates. And this time I was driving with I don't know if you can see it, but that yellow thing over there, I did put a small shim, because that's what the Fontaine engine.
State Farm Canada is now Desjardins Insurance. They're
What?
still the same great agents.
That's what Fontaine engineer suggested. So anyway, so time now to go back to hotel, have some supper, and get ready for tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm driving 2 hours east to Port Hope to take the measurements. Let them get the measurements of this, because they said yeah, there's no way they can make this without measuring everything, because I guess they have to measure this, the size of this, the size of this, how big the wall over here is, you know, all the good stuff. And so they're gonna be 36 somewhere here, right? 36. But I'll try to ask him if it's possible to get dual kingpin, and if it's possible to get a lock. And that's the hole that I used. And you see that kingpin over there? It was up, it was standing. That's how I knew that I was in trouble, that I had to remedy the situation immediately, or I can lose the trailer. And so everything was done. Captain Sergei fixed the problem. So thanks for watching, have a good day.